Good morning, everybody. John Spielkel here for GAI Insights and Gen AI News Briefing. We've got lots going on here. We have Ankaj Handa, Paul Beyer, recently Dr. Amanda Fetch, and Vivek Mukhatar. And great to have everybody here. And lots going on. We have a series of interesting articles all the way from kind of what kind of leadership do we need to the age of experience. So, Ankaj, if you could start us off with the first one, that would be great.
Good, thanks, Sean. So the first one that we have for today comes from Ethan Mollick, and he talks about AGI, O3, Gemini 2.5, and everything after that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I originally put myself down as the thing here, but Vivek, did you have a chance to look at this guy? And love to get your take.
Yeah, I did. I mean, we're all, I think, big fans of Ethan Mollick, and I think this is a really interesting article, which is exploring where the frontier of AI capabilities is through the lens of these new emerging reasoning models. And he wants to define this as the jagged AGI. So he has this, originally he's talked about the jagged frontier. As we experiment, we understand the limitations of these different models. He's talking specifically about how close are we to AGI. And it's, these systems show superhuman capabilities in some aspects while stumble on other aspects. But this is how he thinks that this paradigm is going to continue to evolve. But we now know that we are not in the state of, this AI is not static anymore. It's dynamic. We have semi-autonomous agents. And these techniques are now being easily implemented. So I think it's an essential read from an AI leader's perspective, because this is a great summary of the evolution of these new paradigm of reasoning models, and why they feel so good, because they're excellent in several tasks that humans are not good at, or they can do them much faster. So that's right.
All right, we have an essential from Vivek here. What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm on the total opposite side. I'm on optional for the simple fact that as soon as I hear AGI, my eyes start glazing over and I stop paying attention, because I just don't think it's coming anytime soon, and it doesn't really matter to me the context. I do like how he says we need to have a clear definition pretty much and things like this, because we really do. I think people define AGI in different ways, and I think agentic is starting to confuse people, because I think they're automatically thinking maybe we're closer to AGI. So, but I'm more on optional again, because I don't think we're going to be there anytime soon. And so I'm kind of in like disagreement on this. So I'm leaning on optional.
All right, Paul, how about you?
I love his writing. I'm with Amanda. I despise the term AGI. I think any AI leader who uses it is wasting time. Any minutes, seconds spent in AGI discussion in the corporation is confusing, adding anxiety, distracting. That being said, I do like the content of the article. I think he does a good job of going back into his book and stuff here.
Yeah. So Paul, there's something going on with your microphone. It's getting hit or something.
Oh, strange.
Okay.
Yeah, so I for those reasons, I'll put important with an asterisk, avoid the AGI.
Yeah, I was more on the optional end for a different set of reasons. The whole AGI thing, as I think I agree, is to me is a red herring. But the idea that these machines already think and they think and can do things more than humans can, I think people should just get used to that. Just like, as the analogy we've used before, whether it's a human on a bicycle or, or a plane flying, they don't, they work, but they work differently than the natural comparison, like a bird for planes. I just felt like there wasn't a whole lot new here. And his normal bringing it together in a way that helps action, I thought, or explication. Anyway, I was going to give it an optional as well.
Let me defend it for 1 second, and then I think I can.
No, defend loud. No, sorry.
Yeah. So it is the one thing I think we are moving towards. I think that not many people understand. There's been a big step change in the last 6 months, and around it's agents, agentic, AGI. I think that is not a. I agree with everything you guys all mentioned. But we're transforming business processes now with these tools. And I think he highlights that in this article. That's why I was more towards that these AI leaders need to understand, but I can be brought down for sure. So.
All right, so I'm going to give it an important. How about that? Because there are some good things in here. All right, Akash, let's give it an important. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, the next one comes from Sebastian Rashka, and he talks about the state of reinforcement learning for LLM reasoning.
Yes, we have our friend Sebastian here doing his normal job of, really explicating things in a pretty comprehensive way. Amanda, where's this on the EIO scale?
Yeah, I like this one for the leader. And you know how when it starts to get technical, I'm typically the one to say, oh, it's optional because I don't want it too technical for the leader. But I thought this one did a good job of digging into reinforcement learning and current sort of, I guess, updates or improvements we're seeing with like reasoning and things like this. So I like this one. I think if the leader has a moment to jump into this one, I'd say important. Now, essential for me, again, when it starts getting technical, I don't know that I can be swung that way, but definitely important on this one.
That's interesting. I have a different profile of the ad leader. I think that you want a technical person, or at least hold them accountable to be able to understand technical issues. How about if I were to take the technical part off your technical veto, would you give this essential?
I could be swung in essential, but I guess my issue there is there's new developments, but what I say this is like totally groundbreaking that we have to stop what we're doing to read it now. So I guess on that front, maybe I wouldn't be swung to essential. I don't know. Talking myself out of it again.
Yeah, Vivek, where are you?
I'm with Amanda. I'm at important. I think this is an important trend that the AI leader needs to understand, given that these algorithmic innovations are going to be just for computational efficiencies. And we'll talk about more of these next few articles are all focused on how do we achieve that while scaling organizations with AI. So it's an important trend, but there's not enough details in here how they.
Paul, where are you on this?
Important.
Yeah, I was between important and essential. Akash, if you can go down a little into some of the illustrations. I think he does a great job on some of these illustrations. Keep going down farther. I'm looking for the comparison to PPO and GRPO. That, and well, that's a nice one too. Let's stick on that one for a second. If we go back a little, right? This is one he's used before, which is on the left-hand side we've got first shot accuracy. Down the bottom is compute necessary, and you can see the tapping out. The trailing off of the ability to do more accuracy due to pre-training. On the right-hand side, it's really about reasoning. So anyway, all right, let's see what Ashish says. He wants to underscore step change. Yeah, that's true. Concepts like rock. I don't know. Let's go ahead. Let's give this an essential. What the heck?
One thing I do want to highlight, I think Sebastian did a great job here, is the importance of visualization. I know Ashish did a great one on MCP and A2A. So much is moving fast. So much is hard to get context. And I thought you highlighted some great visualizations he did.
Yeah. And, the new finding now that kids can't read anything longer than a paragraph, kind of scary, but yes, visualizations are going to help. College students who can't read anything longer than a paragraph. Anyway. All right. Next, Akash.
Next one comes from Google, and they have launched Gamma 3 quad models. So they have quantized Gamma 3 model further.
Yeah, Gamma 3 models, again, for people who are brilliant in terms of naming, naming conventions have not reached Silicon Valley, but anyway, here we are with Gamma 3 quad model. Let's see. I'm trying to look at who I had on this. I think, Amanda. No, Paul.
Yeah, me. Yeah. So Gemini's is closed proprietary models. Gemma's are open one. They've been pushing hard for this. This is definitely optional. This is continued improvement on that. I think it's interesting that this is a continued foray of a major AI provider doing both closed and open. OpenAI announced a few weeks ago that they're going to start going in the open model business as well to give more choices here. But AI later, this is continued improvement on the 100,000 different OpenAI open source models there are out there now.
So optional?
Definitely optional.
All right, we got an optional going here. What do you think, Amanda?
Optional.
Optional. Yep. Amanda, you go with optional?
Yeah, I'm on optional. The one thing I like though is it just kind of dropped quantization in there, because that's like, I keep hearing that, like, now it's starting to be a buzz term, I feel like, on my side of things. So the fact that they just mentioned it at all, I'm like, interesting that they dropped that within a product announcement. So, but I'm optional.
Yeah, and in terms of the quantization down to 4-digit precision and not losing a lot of fidelity, it's pretty amazing when you think about how efficient that is, because it's going down quadratically, right? So okay, cool. Optional it is. Ankaj next.
Next one again comes from Google, and they have launched Gemini 2.5 Flash.
All right, so we get Gemini 2.5 Flash. Boy, they have that in here.
I think that was me, Dr.
Yeah, Amanda, sorry. Go for it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. There's some interesting information in here. Again, I'm going to say, like I typically do, it's a little technical, but I feel like this is still more like a product updates, things like this. So for the AI leader, I feel like this one's optional.
Yeah, the most amazing thing to me was, excuse me, what we're looking at here, which is the pricing, which is radically cheaper, right? It's like an order of magnitude cheaper in terms of token cost, input, output price. You can see Grok there is usually price leader is 20 times more expensive on input, and what is it, 25 times more expensive on output. So pretty interesting. All righty, this is headed for optional. What do you think here, Vivek?
Yeah, no, I was between optional and important. I think the key trend here is this adaptive computation and dynamic control of LLM reasoning. I think it's understated. I think there is a lot of architectural decisions that are being made internally, where again, the model, there's so many different models that allow you to do that nowadays. But just to kind of highlight that for a AI leader, this is an important trend emerging.
So we're going important on this or optional?
I'm between important and optional, but okay. I can, just the important trend needs to be highlighted in there.
All right, Paul, we're on the fence here. Which way?
No, 100% optional. Everyday miracles, every vector is going up here, so optional.
It's interesting. I'm going to give it an optional. I wonder if we're starting to see a pricing model come out here, which is very price aggressive on the small models, free and cheap, and then on the big models, still premiums. Which is going to be interesting because the small models, can do a lot of things that the models can do.
John and Vivek, that continues to go to this notion that really good intelligence is driving to near zero. So the constraint is not digital intelligence anymore. It is change management, application, prioritization, people.
Yeah, I would say I'm maybe. Yes, all that's super important, but I'm still open-minded about competitive differentiation by the model as well. You know what I mean? If you build it inside and you get proprietary insight and so forth. I think that it'll be a combo myself. But
you're talking about the I was talking about the cost, John. You're talking about the proprietary nature, that the open source the open source is a potential path to competitive differentiation in this world of tremendous amount of cheap, high power intelligence.
Well, actually, the next article is going to kind of make this argument. What I'm saying is that yes, in terms of relative emphasis, technology versus change management, we need more emphasis on change management and education, things like that. However, I don't think that all digital intelligence will be commoditized. And I think that, and some of that's due to the cleverness of the algorithms and the kind of data you feed it in. The other is that the longitudinal experience, as this next article argues, that if humans have experience curves and they can do certain things because they've had experience, I think models have a similar thing. And that when those models are sitting inside a business system, like Vivek at your place, that business system may extract tremendous economic value from the marketplace, i.e. not commoditized, when you have a symbiosis between those two things.
And are you suggesting it's more of the domain expertise combination with these models and how they are launched that brings value in those situations?
Yeah. Ashish is saying they're all, unless general models are all the same in a commodity. I guess I don't believe that. I think it's how you tune them and train them could have a differentiation. So maybe he and I are agreeing. It's just where in the value chain, when you start with a model. Yeah, okay, but I think the experience embedded in a model is going to have competitive differentiation. I think. Anyway, we'll see. The market will tell us. All right, we're going to do this one optional. Ankash, next.
Okay, the next one talks about the era of experience.
Yes. What do you think, Vivek? Is this an insightful new way to think of things or just a label to get attention?
I think it's an interesting. I would say I'm somewhere in the middle between that. All the discussion we just had, right? That can we improve model performance through understanding continuous learning in dynamic environments is where this article specifically focuses on. But it also, I think, the part of the article which I like is really the challenges that come where we are going towards, the interpretability, trust, and other challenges that this article highlights. I think it's really important for an AI leader, but we are going towards this era of this is the future state is where AI is going to learn from itself and improve, right? And because to Paul's point, compute costs are going to zero, so we can continuously push these systems to learn from its experiences. And there's so much data available outside. So yeah, so I'm at important.
You're important. All right. Yeah. Interesting graph right there. It talks about, basically learning from itself. The notion that the reinforcement learning will both be in domains that are transhuman, which are, that people can't get feedback on because they either don't understand, don't have data or whatever, as well as longitudinal understanding. Kind of cool. What do you think, Amanda? Experiences, whole new category, or just new name on, new labels on old wine?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one from optional and important. One thing that I would say though, as I keep seeing sort of agentic thrown throughout this paper is, has every leader in every company really nailed down generative AI to the point that they have it so good that now they can build a system on top of it that kind of does things on its own, right? And I don't think we're there yet. So when I see things like this, I'm like, this is great, new way of thinking or whatever. Yes, I agree. It's kind of like buzzwords, marketing, whatever you want to call it. But again, when I keep hearing agentic everywhere, I start to take a step back and question and say, you're that good? You can autonomize everything already because you're great. I don't know we're there yet. So I feel like companies and organizations, leaders need to take a step back and handle the basics first, and then we could talk about this maybe in another year or two when everybody has it nailed down. I think it's too much too soon, and I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. That's just my opinion.
All righty. So sounds like optional for you?
Yep. Sorry, I muted. Yep.
All right, Paul, we're headed for optional.
Optional.
Optional? All right. I was going to rate it important myself because I think for this issue of experience curves. But okay, Vivek, what do you say? We're going to let
for now we can wait. Again, it's going back to where we are in terms of, I agree with Amanda's point, but agentic to me is just the ability of the model to think longer and do more tasks.
Yeah.
And this is where the new capabilities are. And I think folks just don't know enough. But I agree with all of you guys that this is too soon.
All right. Chef Kelly says, look, we got to get rid of this agent baloney. All right. We'll give it an optional. Next and last, Akash.
The last one comes from MIT Sloan Management Review and talks about who should lead AI project.
Yeah, here we've got our friend Tom Davenport and a couple other authors basically delving into what the new, I love it. They have the CITO, Chief Innovation and Transfer Officer. What do you think here, Paul?
Yeah, I've been pushing myself to keep using our co-intelligence differently. And my book club last night for this article, Vivek, I ask the model first to tell me what to think about it. Then I figure out, do I agree with it? And all the other times, I always analyze the article and use it as like a double check. So I'm trying to reverse it and figure out. So I put this into my ChatGPT and asked it what I should rate it, EIO. The robots came back and said it essential. And then I was forcing myself to figure out, should I do it? I think this was a decent article talking about transformation. I don't necessarily agree with the title, but I think the organizational skills about transformation are really important here. One of the challenges I have with terms like CIO and VP of AI, those are names of technical capabilities and not outputs. And that's why I like digital transformation, I think, more, because that's what the organization needs to think about. And I think it's really digital transformation support for the line leaders, because the line leaders really need to be transforming this. This isn't just one little side project doing digital transformation over in IT here. So for all those reasons, I'd rated it essential.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was on essential or optional. I mean,
both sides of the fence, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think that the issues they raise are issues that need to be dealt with, but it's what we at Harvard Business School used to call, I think still call, the role of the general manager. It's like, we don't need a new title. It's the person who owns this business has to figure this stuff out, right? And it's not something you delegate. And you get your team to, reinvent the business around these new capabilities and new competitive dynamics. I mean, that's why they pay you to be a general manager, right? I mean, that's where it's optional. It's like, yeah, of course, this is what they pay managers to do. So go do it. You know what I mean? We don't, to your point, Paul, we don't need a label down below, but whatever. I don't know. What do you think, Vivek?
Yeah, I was important to essential because of this one fact, right? And I think Paul highlighted this. You're right, John, that the business owner should take responsibility and move forward. But this, unlike any other transformation in an organization, this is impacting every single process at the same time. And this requires a human transformation, which we've not had done at the scale that we're expected to do at this moment. And this is, again, from personal experience in an organization, trying to implement AI within the organization. I think where I have the most success is really engaging people and inspiring them to use this technology. It's not just, there's an inspiration, you need to inspire people along with the business process change. So that's where I was leaning a little bit more towards, and this article does a great job at highlighting the human transformation required. So it was more important to essential.
All right. So Amanda, we're headed for the big E here. What do you think?
Yeah, I could be talked into it. I'm at least important. And for me, I think of it this way. Every time I have a discussion with an AI leader, it a lot of times, I shouldn't say every time by any means, but it typically will lead off, are you the technical leader or the strategic AI leader? Which bucket are you? But you know what? That's not correct, because you can't be one or the other anymore. How many projects is there? And I'm going to speak on this because I've been a developer and I was scared of my own shadow for years. So this was me, so I can say this. That when it comes to speaking to the CEO or something, and you know what you're doing, you know all the code, and then when they say, Amanda, really, this is going to work? Look, it looks like it's not working, this and that. How many will cower and say, yeah, you know what, maybe it isn't working that great? And I had to get over that. And there's a lot of technical leaders, even with 20 plus years, and that just don't have the personality to sell their solution and say, no, you know what, Dr. John, it does work. And this is why, and hold their ground and have those people skills and have that change management. I mean, it's just not there. So I think it's important for many to get this reality check, even for a lot of us, like you were saying, Dr. John Paul, everybody, that this should be basics. I don't know that this is basic. So from what I see day to day, it's not. So yeah, I can be talked up to essential.
All righty. Looks like we're going essential here. And actually, when I think about it, Ankash, let's demote reinforcement learning one to important in the context of these things. The one I put essential. So we'll end up with one essential. All right. Ankash, if you could do the tote board here. All right, Paul, we got some interesting stuff happening tonight at Learning Lab.
We do. Really exciting. I'm excited to continue our conversation on Friday. And John, was your good suggestion. We're going to have a good discussion on the differences between A2A and MCP, two emerging protocols in this multi-agent intelligence world. And the colleagues from our community, Ashish from Microsoft and Kevin from Bark, will be joining us at our Learning Lab at 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific. And join through a meetup or send me an email. We'll get you the information.
Yeah, and for those who are interested in a more kind of theoretical background from an economic standpoint, I think that the A2A MCP conversation is being well explicated in the technical domain. There's a whole field of economics that some of you may be aware of called transaction cost economics. They're originally invented by a guy by the name of Ronald Coase, who was a UK socialist who came over to study the United States companies and won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1995 for some work he did in 1959 and on transaction cost economics. And one of the things I think that agents are doing is they're changing, the reason we care as business executives is it's changing the boundaries of the firm. That is, what should you buy in the marketplace? What should you have internally? Can you set up more efficient ways to coordinate resources inside organizations? And I think agents are changing that. If you look at Coase's work, they're fundamentally changing the transaction costs, therefore changing the boundaries and the competitive advantage of organizations. So anyway, for anyone interested in tying this to economics, I think that that's a useful thing. And for those of you who want a compelling short introduction to that, the first chapter of a book called Unleashing the Killer App by Chunkamoy and Larry Downs from the 1990s does a phenomenal job of bringing that together.
Well, Amanda and Vivek and she just, I just want to highlight the fact that how much I enjoy work with my colleague and co-founder John, who can go back and not only quote the theory, the person who did it, when he got the Nobel Prize, and oh, by the way, and then another chapter in a book here. So, Amanda, this is an everyday Dr. John Sviokla comment and miracle, and I've gotten used to it, but it's still amazing.
Yeah, I think we need a label every day, Dr. John Sviokla miracle. Yes.
You guys are too kind.
Well, that's why I appreciate coming, and I'm grateful to be here every time I get an opportunity, guys. Thank you.
All righty, folks. Great. Hope to see you tonight at the Learning Lab, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Just go through Meetup and should have a great discussion of this vital area of A2A, MCP, and other agentic frameworks. Bye-bye now. See you all tomorrow.